Hi, so we're here for chapter 11 of WYSIWYG, and this chapter is called Taking a Risk. Now, things are not good for Ben at the moment. The school bully, Splitter Lawson, has been turned into a jackass, and he's about to be taken away to the RSPCA, and he won't change back for 16 days. What will Ben do? At lunchtime, Mr. Archer made Ben sit outside the staff room for being cheeky. WYSIWYG, wake up! Ben shook his bag gently. Please wake up. What is the matter? WYSIWYG asked crossly. Granting 16 wishes at once is very tiring. You should try it sometime. WYSIWYG. Ben got no further, for just at that moment the staff room door opened and Mrs. Jenkins strode out. WYSIWYG only just managed to duck down into Ben's bag without being seen. Mrs. Jenkins, can I ask you something? Ben said. Oh, yes, Ben? What will happen to the jackass in the playground when the RSPCA takes him? Asked Ben. Well, the RSPCA will look after him for a short while, but if they can't find somewhere permanent for the donkey to stay, I guess they'll have to put him down, said Mrs. Jenkins. Put him down? Ben was shocked. It is the kindest thing they can do in the circumstances. Mrs. Jenkins placed an understanding hand on Ben's shoulder. How long will they wait before they do that? Ben could hardly get the words out. A couple of weeks, Mrs. Jenkins shrugged her shoulders. I've got to go, Ben. Talk to Mr. Archer if you have any more questions. And Mrs. Jenkins marched off. Ben swallowed hard and had to keep swallowing to stop himself from being sick. They were going to put Splitter to sleep. Forever. WYSIWYG, you must do something, Ben whispered urgently once he was sure the coast was clear. Ben struggled to remember something that WYSIWYG had said to him when they'd first met. WYSIWYG, didn't you say something about your wishes lasting 90,000 odd yenvings, except in special circumstances? Ben remembered. That's true, but WYSIWYG began. This is a special circumstance, Ben interrupted, so you must change him back. I can only revoke one of my wishes in extremely special and hazardous circumstances, WYSIWYG said. And you are not asking me to revoke one of my wishes, but 16 of them. We have no choice, Ben pleaded. We must change Splitter back. I might be able to do it, but I do not know if I will be able to reactivate afterwards. What does that mean? Ben asked. He wasn't sure, but whatever it was, it didn't sound too good. It means, said WYSIWYG gently, that if I do reverse all those wishes at once, it will drain my energy so much that I'll shut down immediately. But I don't know if I'll have enough energy to wake up again. Ben stared at WYSIWYG, horrified. If this happened on my home planet of Oricon, I would be taken to the reactivation center and would be fully functional again within 44,000 yenvings. But as it is, WYSIWYG didn't finish her sentence. She didn't have to. What are we going to do? Ben asked, stricken. WYSIWYG smiled. As you said, we cannot let Splitter be put down. It is a risk I shall have to take, but I am doing it for you, not for Splitter. Ben shook his head miserably. Even as a jackass, Splitter was still causing all kinds of trouble. For a second, Ben was tempted to tell WYSIWYG to forget about Splitter and save herself, but he knew he couldn't do that. If anything happened to Splitter, Ben would never forgive himself. But what about WYSIWYG? I had better get started, sighed WYSIWYG. This is going to take some time. And she ducked down into Ben's backpack. Ben spent a very miserable lunchtime, frequently glancing down at his watch and wondering if he was letting WYSIWYG do the right thing. Deep down he knew he was, but that didn't make things any easier. Occasionally Ben whispered to his bag, WYSIWYG, are you okay? And she replied, I am working. But as time went on, her voice began to fade, and her words grew softer and softer. Ben, the RSPCA have arrived. They're going to take Splitter away. Stephen hopped up and down in front of Ben. We've got to do something. WYSIWYG is working on it, Ben said. He had to swallow hard before he could say anything else. Where's the RSPCA now? In the playground with Splitter, Stephen replied, still hopping about anxiously. Ben and Stephen ran into the nearest classroom, which overlooked the playground. There, 3 teachers, including Mr. Archer, and 3 RSPCA officials were trying to load Splitter the jackass into a small horse box. But Splitter wasn't having any. He kicked and brayed and tossed his head and made it impossible for anyone to get near him. Hold him! Watch out! Mind his back legs! Even from where Ben was standing, he could hear the grown-ups calling out to each other. Splitter the jackass spun around and kicked out like a bucking bronco in a Wild West film. Then he made a break for it towards the playground toilets. Stop! Come back! The RSPCA and the teachers gave chase. Ben closed his eyes, but then opened them immediately. It was even more nerve-wracking not seeing what was going on. Splitter's disappeared round the corner, Stephen told him breathlessly. He must be hiding in one of the loos. The RSPCA people and the teachers were only a few seconds behind Splitter, but the moment they turned into the alcove, they froze. What's going on now? Ben thought desperately. Mr. Archer marched further around the corner and out of sight, whilst the other grown-ups stayed where they were, staring into the alcove. Within moments, Mr. Archer appeared, his hand grasped tightly around Splitter's arm. Splitter was a boy again, back to his normal self. But judging from the nuclear look on Mr. Archer's face, Splitter was in a great deal of trouble. I don't know how you did it, and I don't care, said Mr. Archer as he marched across the playground with Splitter in tow. But you don't bring a donkey to school, and you don't waste any time or any other teacher's time with your foolishness, and you don't play stupid tricks with your pets. But Mr. Archer, Splitter began. He got no further. I'm going to call your parents and they can pay for the RSPCA people being called out on a wild goose chase, Mr. Archer continued. Ben saw an RSPCA official come out of the playground alcove, take off his cap and scratch his head, very puzzled indeed. Thank goodness for that! Stephen turned his back on the window and slumped against it. WYSIWYG, are you all right? Ben opened up his shoulder bag. There lay WYSIWYG, her eyes closed. She was less than half her normal size, like a balloon with most of its air let out, and her golden fur was now a dingy, muddy colour. And we'll find out in the next chapter if WYSIWYG will be okay. See you then. Bye.